Page 3. The Road to the Wizard King. The entire crowd of examinees stared at Asta in disbelief. Even the most nervous of test-takers had felt confident next to the seemingly magicless boy, the one who had failed every single stage of the exam. Now, here he was standing over one of the top contenders, Seke Bronzaza, whose creation magic looked to have been the ideal defense and offense. The bronze mage's eyes were completely glazed over. He was out cold. Asta, stout as he was bolstered by his proclamation of becoming the Wizard King, and towered over Seke with his sword still at the ready. Slowly, onlookers began to voice their surprise aloud. What the heck happened? Is that sword magic? That sword, is it magic? I thought he was just a dunce from the boonies. Just what is up with this guy? A buzz had swept through the crowd, filling the onlookers with a miasmic confusion. The short, stocky boy from the Forsaken Realm had just displayed some impressive attack power. If his attacks were potent this whole time, why had he failed every task thus far? One crowd member began asking another mage what Asta had said about the Wizard King, when Asta cut them off with his tremendous lungs. Shut up with all that blabbing! I said I'm going to become the Wizard King! Do you have a problem with that? Is he stupid? The crowd continued staring at Asta with a mixture of disbelief and outrage. He must be an idiot. He's just a peasant from the boonies. What's he thinking? Yeah, keep dreaming, fool. Give it up already, you pathetic kid, one examinee shouted. Hey! Who are you calling pathetic? Asta demanded. The companion of Yami of the Black Bulls, Finral, began wondering aloud. Is it some form of creation magic? It didn't appear like he had that kind of magical power during the other tests. He's not using magic, Captain Yami corrected, refusing to elaborate further to his clearly confused subordinate. It was Yami's turn to wonder aloud. So, he wants to be the Wizard King, eh? We sure did get an odd one this year. Once the commotion caused by Asta's brashness fell, the rest of the one-on-one bouts continued. Amazing magic was put on display in most of the matches. None held back. The aristocrats and nobles displayed devastating creation, attack, and defense magic on the most impressive performances. All of the examinees knew that this was their best and last shot to impress the captains until next year's exam. These intensely close matches began to cast doubt on Asta's own performance. Now that we've seen everyone else, that peanut wasn't all that after all, a mid-ranked examinee commented. More than anything, this participant was just self-compensating. Yeah, that's it, he said. His opponent just let his guard down. Asta's jaw dropped, nearly as far as Father Orsi's after he had insulted the church. Asta's strength was one of the few things he was genuinely proud of, and to hear these strangers belittle his efforts left him in disbelief. As the matches continued, Yuno had still not found a dueling partner. This created a chance for one of the nobles to challenge him. Salm of House Hapshas. Salm had passed every test with flying colors, and although Yuno had done the same that day, only seemed to enrage the noble instead of earning his respect. You may have been chosen by the Four-Leaf, but you're still a lonely peasant from the boondocks. I'll show you that you can't compare with the magical powers of a noble. His smirk and smugness trounced what Asta had seen earlier in Seke Bronzaza. This was pure, untainted arrogance. Yuno met his eyes with his trademarked blank stare and nodded a simple agreement to duel the noble. They then took the center of the arena and squared off in preparation for each other's magic. Salm's grimoire leapt from his belt as he began the most potent attack magic he had learned so far. Quick as an eagle diving unto his prey, Yuno had released his own spell. Towering Tornado! A whipping gray tornado erupted from Yuno. It would have dwarfed the grimoire tower in Hajj. This tornado simply picked Salm up and sucked him into its vortex, spinning around and around until he was finally spat out, saw him landed flat on his back, unconscious. The same group of people who had been jeering against the two kids from the boonies gasped in disbelief. Both peasants had bested opponents far above their own standing. Such a thing was unheard of in the capital. Even Asta was shocked at the size of his tornado, his jaw dropping further and harder than ever, for Asta knew precisely the kind of damage those tornadoes could do on a small scale. He had faced off against many of them over their years of joint training, but he had never seen Yuno produce one so devastating. Even some of the captains were visibly impressed. Both Captain Fuegoleon and Captain Vengeance were stunned by the sheer amount of mana this young boy seemingly possessed. With the final match concluded, Captain Vengeance explained how the choosing process would commence. Now, each of the examinees will come forward when their number is called out. The squad captains will raise their hand if they wish to have you join their team. It's up to the examinee to accept the offer or not. And if more than one captain raises their hand, it is up to the examinee to choose. However, as mentioned before, if there are no takers, the examinee will not be accepted into the Magic Knights. Examinee number 1, step forward. And so the examinees continued to step forward one by one. Most candidates received no offers to join a Magic Knight squad. Some received one. Fewer received multiple captains vying for them to join. Number 32, the Purple Orcas. Captain Vengeance continued. Number 78, the Crimson Lion Kings. Number 116, no offers. Number 141, no offers. I guess I should have expected that, said examinee 141 in defeat. Asta's heart was racing so fast and so hard, he thought surely other people around him could hear it. Next, number 164. As Yuno stepped forward so the captains could get a good look at him, his heart raced as well. He remained cool and calm on the outside, but this moment would decide how his path to becoming the Wizard King would be determined. At first, relief swam over him as he saw one captain put up their hand. Joy enthralled him as he saw two more hands shoot up decisively. Yuno was paralyzed in awe when he realized every single captain had raised their hand. He was welcome into any squad and could pick at his own leisure. This feat was unheard of happening to any examinee. Yuno patiently took the time to steady his heart and make the calculated decision on which squad to join. Which squad would provide him the best opportunity to become the Wizard King. Please, allow me to join the Golden Dawn, Yuno's voice carried through the arena. While it didn't peak quite to Asta's yells, Yuno's voice could carry just as far when he wanted it to. Captain Vengeance looked down at his new disciple with pleasure. Damn, they took a good one. Captain Yami complained aloud. Oh, next up is him, Finral said as Asta stepped forward. Number 165, Vengeance called. Asta's thoughts raced in his head as he awaited the captain's response. I can't have Yuno get ahead of me again. I don't care which squad. Just please make me an offer. To his horror, Asta's candidacy was met with complete silence. None of the captains made even the slightest movement. In fact, most looked bored with the entire affair now that Yuno was off the table. As Asta began to contemplate berating the captains and demanding an answer, one finally spoke up. Well, I'm not surprised. It was Captain Yami who had spoken. No matter how high your combat skills are, if it's based in a suspicious power... Yami had stood up now and advanced to the edge of their raised platform. He took a long drag from his cigarette, then continued. No one will want a part of it. In the end, the most important thing about a Magic Knight is his or her magic powers. Just then, his aura flared, and the audience got a taste of the magic power of a real Magic Knight captain. Awe and terror washed over the crowd with his dark-feeling mana. At this point, Yami actually jumped from the second story so he could continue. No one wants you because you have no magic power. At this point, Asta met his eyes and once again thought those were the eyes of a killer. They were so cold and menacing. Even though it was still summer, a cold shiver ran the length of his body. This is the harsh reality. You said you wanted to become the Wizard King. So you're going to surpass us captains? How about me in front of you now? Yami issued this challenge as his aura continued to emanate around him. He appeared silhouetted in the bright day. Can you still say that, even though you have no magic power? Asta paused, but only for a moment. Even if I can't join the Magic Knights today, no matter how many times I fall, no matter what anyone says, one day, I'll become the Wizard King! Yuno looked at his rival with approval. It wasn't easy to stand in the presence of a captain, let alone answer such a challenge. As the taunts began to rain in, Captain Yami silenced them all with a harsh, booming laugh. Ha ha ha! With an outstretched finger pointing at Asta, he exclaimed, You're definitely interesting. Come join the Black Bulls, he said simply. Asta was having trouble processing the sudden change in the captain's demeanor, and just stood there dumbfounded for a few moments. By the way, you don't have the right to refuse, said Asta's new captain. I'll give you such a horrible time in the Black Bulls you'll be ripped to pieces. Prepare for it. What? Yelled Asta. And one day, Yami said in a slightly softer tone, prove everyone wrong and become the Wizard King. Asta had never received affirmation of his dream from anyone. He never expected an actual Magic Knight captain to tell him he could do it. Suddenly, the scary, dark, killer-looking man appeared as a golden ray of opportunity. He took a deep breath, held back the tears of joy that had welled up in him, and shouted his reply for the whole capital to hear. Yes, sir! The crowd was alight with conversation about Asta actually securing a spot in a Magic Knight squad. Asta, however, had other priorities at this point. Ah! Now that everything's over, nature is seriously calling! Asta began sprinting to the nearest bathroom at his own terrifying pace. Was it the boiled purple snake I ate before the exams? Asta successfully made it to the toilet, but he was so preoccupied with his arrival that he didn't notice someone was tailing him. As Asta was relieving himself, a set of golden brown hair poked around the corner into the restroom. It was Seke. You think you can leave unscathed after humiliating me in front of everyone? Seke mused to himself. Because of you, I was only offered a spot on one of the lower-ranked squads. You actually think you can become the Wizard King? Methodically, Seke opened his grimoire and selected a particularly nasty and subtle spell. Life ain't that easy. Bronze hex magic. Seke's poison lizard. I'll test your luck. Seke continued monologuing to himself, the Asta still completely unaware from inside the stall. And if it's bad, you'll be bedridden for life. Seke's metallic purple snake slithered closer and closer to the door, moving slowly so as not to make much. His careful nature is what allowed Yuno to sneak up on him. Wind creation magic. Swift White Hawk! Swift White Hawk! Yuno's magical bird diced the venomous snake with ease. What are you doing? Yuno said in a highly accusatory tone. Seke rounded on the one who dared thwart his revenge, then realized who it was. He's the guy with the four-leaf, he thought. The one who joined the Golden Dawn. Quickly, he thought of, then presented a cover story to Yuno. Ha ha! I was just messing around. I want to give my regards before we parted, like how we should make a bet on who will advance further. Seke's voice trailed away as he noticed the cold look in Yuno's eyes. Then get lost, Yuno said coldly. You're not good enough to compete with Asta. Yuno's voice was commanding and unwavering. Seke thought it was best not to push this boy any further. Oh shoot, I forgot. I have to be somewhere. Please give my regards to Asta, Seke said in a meek voice as he ran away. Asta emerged from the bathroom completely unaware of this tenuous interaction that had just taken place. He only focused on the relief he felt. "Ah, I feel so much better," he said with quite a satisfied look on his face. "Man, that was a lot. I have no regrets or poop left in me." Yuno and Asta exited the bathroom, then left each other hoping they would soon reconnect as fully fledged knights. They exited to the arena, their thoughts echoed in identical sentiment. "Okay, let's go!" Asta returned to where he saw Captain Yami and Finral, and to Asta's dismay, Yami's serial killer look was back. "You got some real nerve making me wait." As he spoke, Asta would have sworn that the ground seemed to rumble underneath his feet. "How much of a crap did you take?" Still concerned with making a good impression, Asta immediately answered the question. "But it was seriously epic! It was like this huge! And..." Asta parted his hands a meter away from each other to demonstrate his bowel movement, but was interrupted by his new captain. "Who asked you to describe your crap, you idiot?" Asta asked Yami as he once again began crushing Asta's head in one hand. Casually, he said to Finral, "Let's go." "Yes, sir," came the reply. "Spatial magic. Fallen Angel Gate." At Finral's command, a blurry, gray and silver jagged-edged circle appeared next to Finral. These spatial portals aren't meant as looking glasses, so no visible image is discernible. Still, they make for excellent travel from place to place. "Whoa! What is that?" yelled Asta, who had never seen spatial magic before. Still crushing his head, Yami cut Asta off again. "If you can't fly on broomsticks, you should learn another form of magic to move about." Yami paused, then realized, "Oh wait, you don't have any magic, do you?" Then he burst out laughing as if someone had just told a great joke. Barely audible over Yami's booming laugh came the strained voice of Finral. Yami, sir? Hello? It's a lot of work to keep this gate open, so can you hurry and go through?" Finral's hands were shaking and his cheeks were beginning to flush with color at the strain of holding open such a big portal to such a far-off target. Yami quickly turned his death glare onto Finral. "Who do you think you're barking orders to? Tough it out and surpass your limits." As annoyed as he was at his subordinate ordering him around, he did comply by hurling Asta headfirst through the portal. Asta flashed out of existence and reappeared by skidding down a dirt path on his face. When he looked up, he realized where he must be. The house that stood in front of him was an enormous manor. There were 5, 6, no 7 stories. Asta couldn't even come to a concrete answer as to how many floors the building was. Each room seemed to jut out at different depths and ceiling heights, making it look like it was a scale model of something a kid had thrown together, with some uneven play blocks. There were various colors of moss, mold, and even shrubs growing all over the sides of the house. Finally, realizing where he must be, Asta thought to himself, "So, this must be the Black Bulls." But he got no further. Kaboom! The front face of the building exploded with a force so great it knocked Asta from being on all fours to flipping him onto his back. Just then, through the smoke and debris, a young but harsh voice was heard yelling, "Okay, now I'm pissed! Are you ready to get your butt kicked?" "I'm not ready for that, but bring it on!" replied an even younger and more excited voice. As the smoke cleared, Asta began seeing his new squad mates properly. Captain Yami's voice boomed. "Welcome to the absolute worst Magic Knight squad, the Black Bulls!" Asta took in the chaotic and violent scene. There was a woman a few years older than him who was only wearing underwear. She had soft pink hair, purple eyes, and wobbled as she walked. I drank too much. Major headache," she said. This is Vanessa Enoteka. Asta could now see the two voices he had heard threatening each other. They were actively fighting with grimoire magic. The younger of the two, had dodged a fire spell the other had just launched. He was laughing the whole time. He wore a simple, pale, blue-green, baggy shirt under his black bull's robe. His dark green pants and yellow boots made him a blur as he flew around the room, seeming to bounce off the walls. His hair was about the same length as Asta's, but this boy's bright blonde hair flew wildly in all directions as he zoomed away from another attack. Luck Voltia laughed and wooed as he did battle with his squad mate. The one who was launching all of the fire attack magic was Magnus Swing. He too wore a black bull's robe. Under it he wore a black shirt and dark jeans with more zippers than could be considered practical. Completing the dark look, he had black boots and black fingerless gloves, with two-toned hair, black sides, gray on top, with a black mohawk protruding from the gray right at the crown of his head. He wielded a baseball bat made of fire and hit another fireball at Luck while screaming, "Die!" Sitting at the table next to Magna was a small child-looking girl devouring a mountain of food. The food pile was bigger than the girl, so Asta had no idea where it could be going. Charmy Pappinson, dressed similarly to the others so far. Black bull's robe, black pants, and a white undershirt. She wore her black hair in a tight bun, slightly off-center. Charmy didn't care about the noise. She rarely had much to say. She only cares about how delicious her meal is. The one attempting to yell over the noise caused by Magna and Luck was Gauche Adelaide, who turned away from the mirror floating in front of him long enough to scream at the others. "Shut up, you idiots!" Gauche donned the same robe accompanied by a blue undershirt, dark green pants, and brown boots. He had smooth, light gray hair that covered his left eye completely. Then his head whipped back around to stare back into the mirror as he mumbled to himself. "You're cute as an angel as always, my little sister." As Asta took all this in, he finally noticed the humongous figure looming behind them all. This one was silhouetted by some unseen backlight. Their eyes glowed like red-hot ember, and steam pouring out of their mouth. This member of the Black Bulls was known as Gray, and was a complete enigma for most of the squad. Asta attempted to process this nightmare of a scene. He expected Captain Yami or Finral, or even creepy Gordon to step in and stop the fight. Still, all that Finral could say was, "They're at it again," as Captain Yami laughed louder than ever.